Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere east of California and the fires therein, and somewhere where I guess you're east of California.
East of California, yeah, the soon to expand United States of America. Actually,
Greenland. Trump's going to buy Greenland. They're going to name it
Greenland and Canada, and
they're going to name it Orangeland because Trump's going to buy it. Orangeland coming up soon. Yes, the 53 states of America. Well, 54, 55 if you count Ukraine and Israel, but that's a whole other topic. We're here today to talk strictly football.
No, that's Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, we get them too?
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go. Eurasia, East Asia. I read about this in 1984.
No, we are at war with Eurasia.
Yes, exactly. So welcome to this program. Mike, tell people the shows you host where you talk about all these other geopolitical.
Oh, well, we talk about, it's Toxically Masculine Tuesday nights with TV's Blake Wally, and sometimes Brian Engelman and Brooks Agnew and Steve Doran and I talk about geopolitical events on Tuesday nights. And then there's a Real News Live with Mike and Jen Mondays and Wednesdays, Tell the Truth Wednesday on Wednesdays. And that's when I generally talk about it. And I'm interviewing a guy named Mel Carmine tomorrow, and I assume we're going to be talking more about that stuff when I talk to him about 1 Eastern. So lots of different people we talk to about.
Nice. So yeah, check out Mike's other programs. And of course, here at the New American Media, we do the Agree to Disagree show. We just wrapped one up with TV's Blake Wally. And that's on Tuesdays, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can join us live on Rumble or YouTube or X at American_media_. And we also do the Unhappy Hour sports show. And that's, kind of a floating timeline. As interesting events pop up, we cover them. And of course, that lives in the Unhappy Hour Sports Show Facebook group. It's private, so you got to search it out. And the keyword is when they say, how did you find our private group and why do you wish to join? Just say, Brian invited me. That's all you got to do. And we talk sports nonstop. So we're going to talk football today. Special guest Jim Mitchell joining us in a moment once we buzz through the college football universe. Maybe that's where we could start things. Oh, if you're not following Strictly Football on X, you got to do it. It's at TNAM Football. TNAM is like the New American Media, TNAM. TNAM Football, because I tried typing Strictly Football, but it was too many characters, so I couldn't get that one. TNAM Football. That's where the Strictly Football show lives on X. Please link up with us there, and we'll talk football all the time. Usually pros, but we'll talk about anything football, really. So, Mike, today, let's start off with college football. My Ohio State football Buckeyes have looked pretty nice. Got to say, we've looked pretty nice after that debacle that we had against that team up north, and we've rattled off 2 good wins in a row. Oh, look at this.
There we are, Strictly Football. So,
yeah. Nice. I like seeing that. It feels legit that way, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just thought we'd show the people what to look for. All right. Yeah.
So we've been looking pretty good. Some people are saying we're the best team in college football remaining. I don't want to get too wrapped up in that, although I was yelling that at the screen at Michigan, like, why aren't you throwing the ball deep? And that was a Chip Kelly problem. And, of course, a Ryan Day not really being great at his job yet. I did kind of say that Ryan Day should be fighting for his job if he doesn't win a national championship with this roster again.
You did say
one
that
of the best rosters.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win it all, I think he needs to go. But look, we're one of 4 teams remaining. Let's start with the game tonight, and then we'll get to the Buckeyes. Who's your favorite team again? Is it the Washington Huskies?
It was Washington, yeah. But, I mean, they obviously didn't make it this year in the 12-team playoff. And, I think Ohio State's got a clear path to victory here. I think they're the best team. Texas is lucky, that they didn't get knocked out earlier on. And Penn State, these other teams are just not that strong. So I think that Ohio State is going to probably win the national championship and save your guys' job. And what they did to Oregon was impressive. There was a major speed difference, which is what was really interesting because Oregon's known as a West Coast sort of finesse team, like West Coast teams tend to be, built on speed, built on quickness, and yet they got out-quicked by Ohio State. Completely different game than the first time they played, and absolute massacre. So, once again, I'd like to point out that the Oregon Ducks have 2,873 different uniform helmet combinations and 0 national championships. 0. And
that's a 0 for Oregon. O for Oregon.
That's the Oregon. That's what the sign that they make. Yes, Oregon.
Oh, no.
And And there's actually, believe it or not, because of their weird looking O on their uniforms. And actually, if you look at, they have these bumper stickers that say Oregon Mom, and I swear to God, that's the image.
Oh, there we
Mom,
go.
probably not a good.
I just love how we're both doing this.
Not a great visual there, Mom. Not really a great visual. That big wide O. Yeah, not a good visual. So
we're throwing up the O, and it kind of looks like the triangle. I'm sure someone's going to snip that into like a GIF.
It looks more like, baby just popped out of it.
Okay.
So it's Oregon Mom. Yeah, we can tell, Mom. All we have to do is look, right?
So always for Oregon. Well, yeah, I mean, look, that team, Ohio State played them in the beginning of the season. It came down to a 1-point game. It was a slight clock mismanagement where they couldn't spike the ball. And like 1.5 seconds later, we get that field goal kick and we maybe win the game by 2. Instead, we lost by 1. Oregon maintained. They ran the table, stayed undefeated. And I mean, none of the teams, Mike, that had a bye in the college football playoffs, not a single bye team, not a team that earned a bye, none of them advanced. They all got knocked out as soon as
I think part of that is that it's just too long because the season ended. I mean, they were off 2, 3, 4 weeks. I think you get rusty. Actually, the bye may be a negative thing because the other team keeps playing on a week-to-week basis. They play more games. They're not rusty. They're very sharp. It's easier to maintain that. So that may be a thing. And it was really interesting. One of the comments I saw that I really liked was, isn't it interesting that the dominance of the SEC suddenly comes to an end, and nobody says the SEC is the best conference in the country anymore when it became legal for every team nationwide to pay their players. Suddenly the SEC isn't shit anymore. Gee, isn't that an interesting coincidence, Brian? I wonder what happened there.
Yeah. Did you see what Shane Gillis had to say about that? By chance? Alabama Jones?
No, what do you say?
All right. Well, I'm going to pull it up here, but in the meantime, let's actually, no, I think I did find it here. Well, I found one version of it. Sorry. That's okay, 140. Here, I'm going to play this for you. Let me share this tab because you're not the only one to point this out. And this was one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Okay, here it is. The most replayed part. This is comedian Shane Gillis. Let me share the screen. My kingdom for a producer, please. Awkward college game day exchange. This was
there we are.
Maybe the moment of the year. Let's press play and listen.
You called him a cheater earlier.
I was just joking around. I don't.
And by the way, this is comedian Shane Gillis here, wearing the Notre Dame jacket. This is former punter and media magnate Pat McAfee, and then this is former Alabama coach Nick Saban right here. So this is Pat McAfee talking to Shane Gillis, the comedian, about how Shane called the Alabama cheaters. So here we go. Moment of the year.
It's not Coach Saban.
You called him a cheater earlier.
I was just joking around. I don't think the SEC paid players ever.
Period.
Right? I'm joking. Are we not? Is this not a fun show?
No.
Serious show?
Serious football.
Alabama Jones is very serious.
No, I'm not serious.
Get the whip, Indy.
I do believe in integrity.
Yeah,
I always tried to run the program that way so players had a better chance to be successful.
Blah blah blah. He called him. He called him Alabama Jones with that hat on.
Well, it's funny too. It's funny.
He called him a cheater to his face. He goes,
I love that because we all know they cheated, and the proof that they cheated. It's just like, I hate to bring it up, folks. The 2020 election, 2024 election. All of a sudden, when there's no, boxes full of mail-in ballots, all of a sudden 15 million Democrats just disappeared into thin air. Why? Because they never existed. Same thing with the SEC. Amazingly, now that everybody can pay their players, the SEC doesn't have an advantage anymore. Another thing, too, is I remember Washington was in the playoff 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they had to play Alabama in the semifinal round under previous head coach before Kalen DeBoer, the guy from Boise. I forget his name. But when you're looking at the game, I'm looking at Bama, and their safeties had calves that were bigger than the thighs of the Washington defensive linemen and linebackers, and I'm not exaggerating. And so, massive steroid use was going on, and SEC was the big money maker for ESPN and college football. And they just kind of like Fox Sports. They kind of just look the other way. Oh, yeah. Look at that big rack and that peanut butter skin. And we're just going to ignore that. Let's not
And we can talk about Joy Taylor. I heard your take on toxically
a
masculine
horrendous
Tuesday.
human being. Yeah, anyway. It couldn't happen to a better human being. So,
by the way, at the bottom of the screen there, since we brought up the 2020 election with a gun to my head, I have to say that you need to go to CISA.gov/rumor control because they're going to tell you 2020 was the only free and fair election in the history of elections. So there's your countervailing view under penalty of I'm under duress, under extreme duress. Okay, let me show you this one here. You brought up they had calves like this.
Yeah.
Here's a nice segue. I don't know if you watched the game last night, but well, this is the video that everyone's talking about, the Jimmy Carter funeral. This is sports related. Hold on with me for a second, audience. It's strictly football, but it's mostly football. It's all sports mostly. But everyone's talking about this conversation at the Jimmy Carter thing because when a president passes, they all gather. And this was shared by my buddy Chris McNeil. I followed him and his family around because he put on the perfect winless season parade for the Cleveland Browns a couple of years ago. But he put this out on X. Everyone wants to know what Trump and Obama were talking about. And so he figured it out. Here's a lip reader telling him. Here we go. Watch that Cavs game last night? Yes. They rolled over OKC. They're the class of the entire league. People tell me about the Cavs all the time. The Cavs, beautiful bigs. The thing is, Mobley has come into his own. And they have a balanced attack. They don't need Donovan to go off every night. I'm telling you, Cavs in 4. So there you go. Everybody was talking about
that's what they were talking about.
That is what they were talking about.
But yeah, actually, I think what Trump was saying is, I assume you're going to want to sell facing Mecca, right?
Are you a basketball fan at all? No, I know football, not so much.
I used to watch the NBA. The game is just pathetic now. There's no defense. You're not allowed to play defense. It's nothing but 3-pointers and dunks. There's no intermediate game. There's no dribbles. There's no one-on-one moves. These guys are pathetically bad. Well, there isn't a single player in the league today that I think would be more. A couple of them might be all-stars in the 80s, 90s NBA, but none of them would be considered Hall of Famers. They would just get dominated because the skills have just diminished over the last 25 years.
Well, if I can, let me encourage you. Let me invite you to watch the Cavaliers. They have 2 big men.
I will.
Evan Mobley is incredible out of USC.
If your Cavs make the finals or something, I will spend some time watching.
Jarrett Allen, I mean, he's a shot block. So they have an intermediate game. They do shoot some like running floaters and mid-range shots. They do have the threes, but they look incredible. Coaching makes a huge difference. So anyway, I just thought that was hilarious. We covered it briefly on the Agree to Disagree show. And you mentioned Cavs. I had to bring it up. So
there we go.
That one's on you. Okay, let's focus real quick on the college football matchups. 2 games, 4 teams remain. One of them will win a national championship. And then, of course, we're going to get to the NFL playoffs. We'll bring in Jim Mitchell, and we'll kind of talk about the lineups and maybe some of the lines and who you might want to consider wagering on for fun, of course, for fun. Entertainment purposes only. Okay, Notre Dame Fighting Irish playing the Penn State Nittany Lions, Mike. What are we supposed to look at in this one? I know Drew Aller, along with Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback, and the Penn State quarterback, Drew Aller. I think they're kind of working their way up on the draft boards at quarterback. Yeah. Looking at Shedeur Sanders and Cameron, I'm thinking Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
The Florida State guy. Anyway, they're going.
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. There we go. Too many Cams in my head. But they're saying, I don't think either of these 2 guys you should pick with a number 1, 2, or 3 pick. And so it's like, all right, well, if we go defensive tackle or defensive end, maybe we pick up a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. And we're going, well, what about these 2 Big Ten quarterbacks? So what are you looking for in this game?
All the quarterbacks that are 2nd or 3rd round picks are going to go in the 1st round, just like they did last year. That's the new trend. So forget about it. They're going to overdraft the quarterbacks because you have to have one to win in the NFL. I wish you idiots in Seattle would recognize that and go get one, but you're not going to.
So let me pause on that point. Was Bo Nix a 2nd round pick that ended up bumping him into the 1st?
Yeah, and ended up playing like a 1st round pick. Now
and what about the Redskins?
Right. I saw Bo Nix and Michael Penix play against each other here a year ago in the Pac-12 playoff. And I said, look, Those guys are both first-round talents. They both should go in the first round. And everybody disagreed with me, and I got completely ripped. And now I'm totally vindicated because Bo Nix played like a top first-round pick. And it's obvious if Michael Penix had played the whole year, he'd be considered a star rookie as well. So they're both great players. And I think that they're both better than most of the guys in the draft this year. But they're still going to get overdrafted. Nobody that needs a quarterback is going to pass on Shadur Sanders, I don't think. Now,
we'll see. I know in the Cleveland ecosystem, we don't need the drama and Coach Prime coming in. But by the way, what you said there about Penix matching up with Nix, don't forget, I just pulled this one up as a Browns fan. Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes in 2016 went against each other, combining for an FBS record 1,708 yards of offense, while Mahomes and Mayfield combined for 1,279 passing yards. The most ever in a college game. So, when you see these opportunities, when you see these prime matchups, they are indicative, And so now we get a chance to see Drew Aller in the second most important game against the Fighting Irish. We'll see if these guys declare and how.
Here's the thing: Drew Aller has said he's coming back, but I think as he looks at the draft board, he would be a top 10 pick, if not the number 1 overall pick, as a quarterback. And so he's got to be seriously rethinking that and I know there are rumors that he's rethinking it, and he should, because in this draft with a fairly weak quarterback class, he would probably go number 1 or number 2 at the worst, make a whole lot more money, even more than he can make in the college system. And he's not, he's not going to go through the portal. So this may be a good scouting opportunity tonight. Now, having said that, I like him. I'm not super impressed by him, and I'm rooting for Notre Dame. I don't know why. I just think they're the underdog. I'm rooting for them a little bit, but it ought to be a really exciting game. So I'm gonna take Notre Dame because it feels like there's some aspect of destiny here for them to play Ohio State in the final would be great. So let's go with that championship game.
Yeah, we've seen some cool games with the Fighting Irish and the Buckeyes in the past. They're saying Abdul Carter he's dealing with a shoulder injury, and Rosenhaus is saying if this guy can play physically, if there's a chance, he'll do it. He said to Pat McAfee. So he's one of those players, Abdul Carter, the defensive end of Penn State. He's been rumored to be perhaps one of the players that would go in the top 5. So if the Browns don't make their pick at quarterback and go with the defensive tackle out of Michigan or the defensive end from Penn State, some people say you got to pick the most talented player when you get an opportunity for generational talent in a top 5 pick. You can't overreach out of need.
But when you need a quarterback, you got to get the quarterback, because look, I'm just going to tell you, those guys everybody's saying are second round or third round picks, they're going to go at the tail end of the first round. Then nobody's going to wait on them till the second round. So you could very well be sitting there in the second round, the Browns, second pick in the second round, with nobody to draft. So I wouldn't wait on it. Unless you can work a deal to trade up. But we'll see.
That's the story. They're wondering if we can trade back and accumulate some other picks, go back to 5, go back to 7, try to get an extra couple and maybe get someone at 10.
Sure, but then you're passing up the position player of value that you want. But here's the thing. As the Seattle Seahawks should have showed you over the last 3 years, drafting position players instead of quarterbacks doesn't get you anywhere, because you have to be really good at drafting the position players. And even if you're picking them the top 5, like Seattle did in 2022, what'd they get out of it? Oh, a really good nickel corner. That's what they got out of it in Devon Witherspoon. He's not a bad player, 2 Pro Bowls, but he still gets burned. He isn't Richard Sherman. He's not a lockdown. And that's what you spent the 5th pick in the draft on. So I don't know. I'm not for that. I'm all, me, get the quarterback, go get him. Get Deshaun Watson's replacement on the roster, and then move on from him as soon as you can.
I put something on the Strictly Football X feed, and it was a kind of somebody making a prognostication of where the quarterbacks are going to land. And I think this one had your team being prominently featured at quarterback. Who did that one have you? I think the Browns were getting you would have JJ McCarthy. And
yes,
we would have Kirk Cousins.
I trade for JJ McCarthy, but the Vikings are saying right now they're not interested in trading him. But come on, a rookie guy, you spent a first round pick on the guy. He has a bad knee. Sam Darnold looks like the answer. I don't see that there's place there for two of them. So for both guys. So, Sam Darnold is not 34. He's 27. So, if they re-sign him, he's going to be there for a while. Depending, of course, a lot on what happens on Monday night. So
and they're wondering about Kirk Cousins. Is there anything left in the tank? If we're not sold on Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, should the Browns improve? We got plenty of needs. We haven't had a first-round pick in the past 3 drafts because of the Deshaun Watson trade debacle. We need offensive line. We need a wide receiver. We need a lot. And with Nick Chubb's injury, we need a running back.
Fortunately, it's a really good running back draft. So
so I mean, there are options that don't involve us taking a quarterback this year if we get a veteran, or maybe we get a 2nd or 3rd round pick, or someone. Look, Lamar Jackson was taken in the final pick in the 1st round. He needed a couple years to really figure out the NFL game. And look, he's a multi-time.
About Jalen Milroe of Alabama, they were also saying about Lamar 5, 6, 7 years ago. So
in Jalen Hurts, guys
can improve, and Jalen Hurts, who's still not super productive in the passing game, but
Tua Tagovailoa as well. So you never know. Let's talk about the Buckeyes here. By the way, I'm gonna pick the Penn State. I'm gonna pick Penn State to win that game. Okay. I'm gonna go 24-20. What about you?
I think it's a close game. I think it might go to overtime at like 31-31. We'll look. I'll say that.
Okay.
It'll be in the offensive game.
Got it. All right. Well, let's go to this one, the Cotton Bowl now. Texas and Ohio State. Quinn Ewers used to be the quarterback at Ohio State. Who else used to be? Joe Burrow. Ohio State has we are wide receiver university. They call it WRU, wide receiver university, with Brian Hartline bringing in all the blue chip wide receivers there that will be playing in the NFL. But the quarterback room has been fantastic over the years. And
Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, now Howard. So, and I like Howard. I liked him a lot, and I'm going to watch him closely again. I think in this particular case, Ohio State's just too strong, too dominant, and Texas was lucky. Who was it they got in overtime with?
Arizona State. And that could have gone either way. That was
I don't think it's there for Texas. I think that I like Quinn Ewers a lot, and out of the quarterbacks that I know about in college, if the Seahawks were sitting there, he's the guy I would take, because he was very, very impressive to me last year in the national championship semifinal game. Very, very much impressed me against a basically NFL quality defense the Washington Huskies had. So good for him. I think he's really good. I'm going to be watching him closely. The thing you can say about him is he makes big plays in big moments when his team needs it. Unlike somebody like, I don't know, Geno Smith. So, but I'm going to take Ohio State. I don't think they're going to get a chance to make big plays. I think Ohio State 38-20, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Buckeyes. I mean, both games that the Buckeyes have played in, they've steamrolled. They've motorboated these teams in the first quarter. It's done. It's just bang, 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 bang. It could have been 28-0 in the first round. It was. I mean, they're up by 3-4 touchdowns.
Motorboated. Are you sure you want to do that in an episode? We're going to talk about
absolutely steamrolled, motorboated, power drive.
Steamrolled, I think, is what you're looking for.
Yeah, let's go with steamrolled, pile driven. If the Buckeyes continue playing how they have been, good luck to anybody out there. And that's the thing. We have a two-headed running back situation there. We have really good players, but we don't need to give them the ball and feed me like Ezekiel Elliott. Just keep getting me the ball.
Right.
Some teams are run first to open up the pass. The Buckeyes are a pass it deep to open up the run. There really is no way to stop this team. You saw with Michigan the way that they stopped us in that ridiculous game that we lost. We stopped throwing deep. Every time we threw it deep to Emeka Egbuka or Jeremiah Smith, the Michigan defender just wrapped up the wide receiver. It was pass interference, 15-yard every time.
Yep.
I just cannot stop these guys. Mm-hmm. And Will Howard, he's risen up my draft board because he's finding them and getting them the ball. It's like, that's just because they're great receivers. Well, someone has to throw it, and he's been doing it. So
I hear that too. When I watch Russell Wilson, we'll talk about Russ when we get to the Steelers game. I see him make these amazing throws, and then it's like, oh, what a fantastic catch by Pickett or Pickens or whatever his name is. I'm like, yeah, it helps when the ball hits you in the fucking hands 45 yards downfield on a crossing route. I mean, it's like, come on. So that's a big thing for me is accuracy, and especially deep accuracy with the quarterback, because I got spoiled by Russ for 10 years. I mean, when he threw the ball deep, it was right on target 98% of the time. And it was really up to whether your receiver had the hands to pull it down. So yeah, you got to give Howard a lot of credit for that. And that's what I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching all these quarterbacks because they might all be in the draft this year. You just never know. And we need one. Seattle needs one. So
yeah, and I get similar grief, being a Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeye fan on the Unhappy Hour, of course. Aptly named because a lot of misery and a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of best team in the world, whether that's the 95 Cleveland Indians, 97 Cleveland Indians, or all of these great Buckeye teams that have failed to bring home the hardware.
Talk to me about the 2001 Mariners, pal. Jesus.
Yeah, you had some great
16 games they win, and anyway.
Yeah, you guys had some great teams out there. Did you ever listen to that Macklemore song? Did I bring that up last time?
No.
But it's a Macklemore song about the Seattle Mariners. You should check it out. It has actual clips of the audio of the announcer calling whatever home run, and it's coming around Thursday.
Pacific Northwest legend Dave Niehaus. Yeah, it's really great. No, I'm not listening to Macklemore.
I recommend it. It's super cool. But I get a lot of the same grief with the quarterback. Oh yeah, it helps when it happens to hit him in the hands.
In the fucking hands. Yeah. There's a great line. There's an old football movie with Kurt Russell and Robin Williams. God, I forget the title of it right now, but it's a great movie with Kurt Russell and Robin Williams, and Kurt Russell's playing the quarterback. And what it was is that there had been a high school championship game where Robin Williams was a receiver and he had dropped the game-winning touchdown pass.
It's called The Best of Times.
The Best of Times. Great movie.
1986.
And so they replay the game like 10 or 15 years later. Everybody's 35 or 40 or whatever. They play the game again. And there's a scene where the receiver comes back and everybody goes, hey, nice catch. And Kurt Russell's a quarterback. And he goes, shut up. That's what you're supposed to do when the ball hits you in the fucking hands. And I've never forgotten that. A nice, great catch. Shut up. That's what you're supposed to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I get the same grief with Baker Mayfield. I've defended him staunchly since the Browns did him dirty, in my opinion. And no matter what he does, the Baker haters that refuse, it's almost like Baker derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Very similar to Trump derangement.
And Russ derangement syndrome. Yeah.
It's an inability to just raise your hand and go, you know what? I was wrong. I misjudged I miscalculated maybe at the time, but like clearly over the past few years, it's proven to be that you were right. And it's like, even when he does well down in Tampa Bay, it's like, oh, well, that's because of Mike Evans. It's like,
yeah.
No, it's not. He won a Heisman. You don't accidentally walk onto programs and win Heismans and get drafted number 1 overall, then take the Browns to Schittsburg and retire little Ben Roethlisberger in Heinz Field, and then be one helmet-to-helmet play away from Dirty Dan Sorensen on the Chiefs, winning that game to the AFC Championship. Like, you're not a bum, and he's not successful only because of Mike Evans. But it's like,
you're right.
For the derangement syndrome people, there's no getting through to him. So anyway, with this game and the Buckeyes, I'm going to go ahead and say we hang 48, and I'll give them 20, 48-20.
All right, I got 38-20. You got 48-20. We'll see.
All right, perfect. Let's shift gears, and maybe we bring Jim in for this. We'll go over the NFL playoff bracket. Jim Marshall has been joining us.
Jim Marshall played for the Vikings.
Wait, hold on.
Jim Mitchell in Las Vegas.
I said it wrong twice, but I said it right in the pregame.
Jim Marshall ran the wrong way.
Yeah, wrong way, Mitchell. All right, Jim.
Jim Mitchell, our betting expert, is on the show. We got NFL playoffs this week. Jim, playoffs? Yeah, get that. You want me to load that up?
I just hope we can win a game.
All right.
Yeah, I got.
Let me get the screen share going.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
You kidding me? Playoffs? Why talk about playoffs? Yeah.
Playoffs.
I got that saved on the computer here. I'll get it uploaded. All right, where am I going? I am going to Jim's tips for this week.
Yeah.
Jim, why don't we maximize that? And
I'd say let's pick a game and let's start talking about it, and then we'll kind of go over the the picks and stuff.
Well, why don't we start at the top with Chargers minus 2.5 at the Texans? Jim, what do you got to tell us about that?
Well, this game, I believe, opened Chargers being favored by 2.5 points. As of now, Coast Hotel still has Chargers at minus 2.5. The Chargers are 3-6 straight up versus teams with winning records, which is not good for them.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans are 0-11 against the spread as a dog after a win as a dog, which is what they did last week. The Texans are 5-3 straight up at home. This game, if I were to bet it, and I may bet it, I like the Chargers in this game, even though they're 3-6 straight up versus teams with winning records. The stat in this that stands out is the 0-11 against the spread,
Right,
as a dog, which means the Texans are getting plus 2.5, which means they can actually, if you were to bet the game, you could actually they could lose the game by 2, and you would still cash a ticket on this. But I think the Chargers are going to win the game outright, and 2.5 is a pretty good number here. It's less than a field goal.
And by the way, ESPN, looking at here on their playoff bracket, they have it at the Chargers giving 3. So somewhere between 2.5 and 3, I suppose.
All right. Interesting stuff. I'm not sure who I want to pick. That's the toughest game to pick for me, but yeah.
It seems easy for me, just the way the teams have been playing.
Yeah.
If I've lost the sound on this, guys.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you good. We can hear you well.
Hear you. Can you hear it? You can't hear us?
Okay, so we're telling him in private chat we can hear him well. Ask him, I will say refresh your feed. Okay. I think the Chargers are going to win this one, Mike. I don't think that the Texans have been playing particularly well all season, essentially.
Yeah.
Now maybe they can prove me wrong. They're the team that knocked my Cleveland Browns out last year with the elite quarterback Joe Flacco at the helm. So they have it in them, but they just haven't. These Chargers have not been the same team that they were last year.
No,
the Chargers have turned things around, and look, Harbaugh knows how to coach. I hate the guy, especially for what he did for that team up north and all the cheating, but he knows how to coach. He gets teams into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Jim, can you hear us now? Can you hear us again?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. We could still hear you, but you couldn't hear us. I agree with you. I think I got to go with the Chargers in this game because they're the team with the momentum. This is the one road upset that I think I'll pick here. Well, maybe the Vikings game, but that's not an upset. I really think the teams are very even. CJ Stroud, I like him better than Justin Herbert, but again, Harbaugh's a better coach than D'Amico. No, what's his name?
D'Amico Ryans.
Ryans, the head coach of the Texans. So they're both good coaches, but Houston has all the injuries and the momentum. They sort of limped home, like the Enterprise in Star Trek 3. They limped home. I agree with you. I think that I would take the Chargers. And in fact, the more I think about it, Jim, I think I might go bet the Chargers. But we will see. There you go.
There you go. There's the lightning bolt. There's a Kellen Winslow Sr.
Do you feel pretty strong about that? I mean, is that a game you would bet? Chargers, Texans? Would you bet the Chargers or no?
If I were to bet the game, yes, I would. I haven't actually made a decision on it. Like I said, I think that stat with the Texans being 0-11 against the spread as a dog, I mean, is just that's a pretty strong stat right there. So if I were to make up a 3-team parlay, this would probably be my second game on the parlay.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Steelers Ravens. That is the next game. Let's get the sheet back up there, Brian.
Yeah, this one is showing that it's Baltimore giving 9.5 in this one. Wow.
Yeah, that is a huge number for a division game. And again,
sorry, go ahead, Brian. Let's look at it. It's okay. Where does it show that? I'm sorry. Yeah, 9.5. But okay, all right. We'll put that one back.
But it's kind of weird because usually the top team is visiting the bottom team, but the Ravens won the division, so it should be Steelers at Ravens, right? This is in Baltimore.
No, it's in Pitts.
It's in Baltimore.
It's in Baltimore. Okay.
But normally they do that where the first team is visiting at the Steelers. So anyway, that was weird for me to look at.
But the Ravens are the division winners, so
yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, okay.
They host, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens are a much better team. But Jim, what are your stats tell us about the situation?
The Steelers are 8-2 straight up versus the Ravens in the last 10 games. Steelers are 26-11 and 2 ties straight up as a dog versus the AFC North. In the Steelers-Ravens contest over the past years, the underdog in the game is 17-2-1 against the spread, which is a huge number. This is slated to be a night game. I believe this game is it's 5:00 p.m.
On Sunday or Saturday.
This is a Saturday game.
Okay.
And that will be on Amazon Prime Video if you want to watch. The Texans Chargers are on CBS Paramount, to add more weirdness to it, trying to follow their favorite teams, of course. Make it as
right. And in night games, the Steelers are 8-4 straight up. That's Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night. So you could throw Saturday in there. It's just how they play it in the evening. Steelers, this stat would pertain to them. Dogs of 6 points or more are 42-33 against the spread. Now that's not a significant number. I would probably leave that stat alone. Going on the Ravens side, Lamar Jackson is 23-7 straight up. The Ravens are 93-30 straight up at home as a favorite.
That's 3-1. Wow. Okay.
Right. Lamar Jackson is 21-26 against the spread as a home favorite. That's kind of 50-50 when you're talking about 47 games there.
Yeah.
Jackson is 6-11 as a favorite of 7 points or more.
Wow.
So that's almost 1-2.
So go ahead, but you kind of have Lamar's traditional choke in the playoffs. Versus the Steelers. His traditional choke in the playoffs versus just a lot of things that
Playoffs? Don't talk about
right.
Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
So great.
Never gets old, does it?
Never.
No, it's a classic, and there are so few people that actually remember it. But yeah. Okay, so you've got
what you're talking about, Mike, is true. I mean, Jackson over the last 6 games in the playoffs, he's 2-4 straight up. He's 2-4 straight up.
Yeah.
And I just think he if you watch him play in the playoffs, he gets tight in these games.
Mm-hmm. So you don't know, look, I think that a lot of stuff points against the Steelers. They don't have momentum. They're not, they're not looking good. They've lost 4 in a row. I don't think Russ is as sharp as he was earlier. George Pickens is coming off an injury. He's had played 2 games and looked pretty poor in both of them. He dropped 3 or 4 balls that would have won them the game, I think, last week. They already lost to the Ravens a couple weeks ago. I think up there. So, I mean, everything looks to me like Steelers are going to lose this game. Ravens look very strong. On the other hand, those stats and Lamar's performance in the playoffs, I don't know which way to go.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Okay.
Mike, let me raise you one more. Check this one out. This is Allen Iverson jumping into the mix.
Oh, practice. We talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game.
We gave him the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked.
Not a game.
We threw that game.
We talking about practice.
Don't talk about playoffs.
Practice?
Playoffs?
We talking about practice, man.
Playoffs?
We talking about practice.
Playoffs?
We talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game.
I just hope we can win a game.
We talking about practice.
There you go. If you ever seen that mashup of Allen Iverson playoffs practice, my God, that might be one of my favorite internet videos of all time.
So I don't know, Jim. How do you would you bet this game? Because I don't think I would bet this game because I just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, is it going to be Steelers? Okay, but would you bet the game? That's different than
Yes.
saying they're going to
Yes, I would.
Oh,
9.5 is an outrageous number.
It's a huge number.
I can't believe it's 9.5.
Okay.
I mean, how many of you had the Jets last week?
Yeah. Well, you did.
All right.
Shut up, Jim.
This is a big number. The weather forecast is it's 35 degrees at game time and partly cloudy. So it's going to be cold.
Now the Ravens are also going to be missing Jaden. One of their receivers is a good player. Somebody's going to miss the game. Let me go look it up. But yeah, they said he's out. Let's go look for some Ravens news.
Did you ask who had the Jets last week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Zay
I was just
Flowers.
kind of curious because I could show you that I, in fact, did have the Jets winning last week.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers is out. Yeah, so Zay Flowers. So, Jim, now you're starting to talk me into it a little bit.
Right. Zay Flowers, he tweaked his leg at the end of the game last week.
So
Yeah,
he's not playing.
Yeah, because that was against the Browns. I was watching it. It wasn't a dirty play. It was just kind of like knee against knee on like a regular play. I just never want to see any dirty stuff on injuries. I hate the Ratbirds. I hate Schittsburg, but I don't ever want to be dirty like Minka Fitzpatrick
Or
blowing
Wyatt
out Nick Chubb's
Wyatt Teller. You don't want him to be
Again, it was
I like
AFC
Wyatt Teller.
It was an AFC Central game. It was rough.
Yeah,
They
as
were
it's
all
meant to be.
rough.
All right.
That's right.
All right. Well, I still think I would probably pick Baltimore in this one. 9.5 is an insane number, but I think they might be a touchdown and field goal better than the Steelers.
Their first meeting this year was just week 11. It was the Steelers won the game 18-16. Most of these games with the Steelers and the Ravens are field goal games, guys. They're close. They're close. The Ravens may very well win the game. Not by 9.5.
So far, I got 20 on the Chargers, 50 on the Steelers in a parlay. So
there you go.
Can you do a parlay? Can you go? Yeah, I'll take the money. I'll take the points. All right, go ahead. All right, now, Jim, Broncos and Bills. What are your thoughts on the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix and the Buffalo Bills at home? 8-0 at home. They're going to be 8-1.
Broncos are 6-21 straight up on the road. Of course, these stats were prior to Bo Nix, but he contributed. I think the Broncos have been pretty steady on the road this year. The Broncos are 17-22 against the spread. Dogs of 6 points or more are 42-33 against the spread. Again, not a significant number.
Right.
Getting to the Bills side, the Bills are 19-6 straight up after a loss. And they did lose last week to the Patriots. But again, Buffalo didn't play all their players.
And by the way, while we're talking about that, do you think that win cost Mayo his job? Did he get fired because he didn't get the directive to tank and keep the number 1 pick? Seems weird they fired him, and it seems weird they won that game. The Patriots.
It does, but I think the writing was on the wall. I mean, Mayo was in a no-win situation. I mean, let's let's
I
let's call a spade a shovel here. I mean, he had no chance of retaining his job as far as I'm concerned.
No, I think he was fired when he went on that racist rant at the opening press conference. I just think Kraft was afraid to fire him on the spot after he just hired him. But when he basically said, I don't like white players, that was the end. That would have been the end of it for me. I'm like, why didn't they just fire him right then?
He had several foot in the mouth weird quotes over the year, and to start off taking things all racial and taking it a weird spot, like the NFL is a meritocracy, and it should have nothing to do with DEI. Best player, best position, that's it. But the Rooney Rule, like they seem obsessed with dividing through race. It's like I don't know. I can't. Sports is supposed to unite, not divide. So he didn't win me over off the bat at all.
Right. And Mike McDaniel is black. Never forget that. Never forget the Miami coach is black.
That's what they say. So you guys think Mayo kind of went Brian Flores, huh?
Yeah, I think he was toast from that press conference, honestly, unless he won 11 games and made the playoffs or something. So yeah.
I just like winning that last game that you had no business winning. That really cost him several draft picks. Now, maybe it doesn't matter, but I don't know. I just didn't really expect that to happen. So
yeah, well, maybe you're right. He pissed Kraft off. Okay, so go on, Jim. We interrupted you. You were at the Bills are 19-6 straight up after a loss. I think it's the next phase.
Right, and they are 8-0 straight up at home. So I don't like the number.
That matters in January when it's frigid temperatures. That's for damn sure. But the Broncos have their own thing being up there.
The Broncos are no stranger to cold weather, in the wintertime. But you're not dealing with the altitude in Buffalo. You're basically at sea level. The Bills 8.5 is just a huge number. The weather forecast at kickoff is supposed to be 32 degrees, and it's cloudy, so they're not forecasting any snow at game time. I'm not crazy about the number. If I were to bet the game, I'd have to go money line.
Yeah,
money line on a parlay.
Yep.
All right. The way I would play it. I wouldn't even tease the game down 6 points.
Yeah, I feel like Bo Nix is good enough, and he's not going to crumple under the pressure. And I think that they're going to keep this game a lot closer than 8.5 points.
That's my feeling on it also.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
those are scary numbers getting into that. Definitely scary numbers for both of the last two matchups that we had. Final thoughts on the Chiefs being the number 1 seed and getting the bye. How strong of a team do we think they are?
They obviously rested their players last week. I mean, they got shut out by Denver, and the Chiefs are the Chiefs in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to be strong. They're rested,
and they have those extra roster spots.
You give Andy Reid
7 guys in the black and white. They have those extra roster spots.
And the Swiftie Nation, they got all them.
Yeah.
You're talking about home cooking, Mike?
Yeah, a little bit.
Arrowhead.
They make their own home cooked pizzas over there in Kansas City. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right, with a lot of pineapple.
No, who I'm rooting for in this year's playoffs. I got probably 3 or 4 teams I'm pulling for. But mainly I'm also rooting against the Chiefs. I'm so sick of them. Just anybody but the Chiefs. ABC, anyone but Chiefs. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. All right, why don't we switch over to the NFC, Mike? Which one did we have next? You said Packers at Eagles. Eagles giving 4.5. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, Eagles are a 4.5 point favorite. Again, this line hasn't moved either. It was 4.5 yesterday, and it's still 4.5 at Coast Casinos. Packers, the NFC North is 28-15-1 against the spread versus non-division opponents. The Packers are 19-5 against the spread as a dog of 3 or more points. In this game, the Packers quarterback, Jordan Love. Yeah. I believe he's still, his throwing arm is still a little injured, isn't it, guys?
Yeah. Yeah. He has a shoulder problem, a little bit of a shoulder problem.
Well, and by the way, let's not forget Jalen Hurts. Looking him up real quick. He's had a concussion, but he was spotted at practice on yesterday, for the first time since he got his concussion in week 16. So that does clear the way for him to start this weekend. But yeah, I mean, dinged up quarterbacks this time of year, that really matters.
Right. Yeah. Hurts will play. I mean, he is apparently at a concussion protocol, and you're right, Brian. He did practice yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Love's, by the way, it's Love's elbow. It's Love's elbow that's the problem.
Right, 4.5 is a big number, and even in the playoffs, 4.5 is a big number. I am not probably looking to play this game at all. If I were to take a side, I would probably take the points. I'd probably take Green Bay in the points.
Ooh, whoops. What happened? Here we go. Okay. Green Bay in the points. Okay.
What about you, Mike? Who are you picking?
Eagles, because I think that in spite of the concussion, Love is healthier. I think he's better, or not Love, but Hurts. And two similar guys. Love's a little bit better passer. Hurts is a better runner. I like the Eagles at home. Spread-wise, yeah, I think the Packers have kind of limped into these last couple of games. They got beat up really pretty good by the Vikings, and then they lost last week, I think, in their final game.
And it also sort of feels like this is the year of Saquon Barkley too.
Yeah,
I kind of get that vibe. Like
so
when
I feel
you
like
put it all together,
I can see Saquon ripping off a 70-yard run late third, early fourth quarter, and putting it away. So I wouldn't touch this one or the next one. Really,
I wouldn't touch the game, but you're kind of talking me out of the Packers side, Mike. Yeah, the Eagles have been strong all year.
Yeah, they've kind of limped into this postseason, and they're going on the road. So I don't hold out a lot of hope for them. All right, Redskins, Buccaneers. What's the tip there, and what are your thoughts, Jimmy?
I got one stat on this game. The Buccaneers are 12-3 straight up as a home favorite. That's a pretty strong number. I don't like the Redskins in this game. The temperature at game time is supposed to be 60 degrees, partly cloudy, and I believe this is also slated as a night game.
Okay. So, so Redskins, Buccaneers. So 12-3, that's the Baker era, right? That's the last 15 games as a home favorite. That's probably mostly Baker Mayfield games. So that implies that, it's not like we're looking at a stat from a previous regime, right? Oh, Buccaneers. Okay. Buccaneers. Even against the spread or straight up?
I would go ahead and lay the number. I like the 3.
Okay.
I like the 3.
Okay. All right.
I'm going ahead and taking the Buccaneers. So the Buccaneers are giving 3. The Buccaneers are favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I read our favorite. Yes.
All right, maybe I read that backwards when we were doing show prep. I thought it was saying that the Redskins were favored. I'm like, that can't be the case. Yeah, I'm gonna take Baker and the boys plus giving 3. Sure.
Yeah, the total in the game is a pretty high number. It's 50.5 is the total.
Okay.
So
all right.
If you like betting over-unders.
Over-under, yeah, which I don't.
By the way, speaking of over-unders, what about Mike Evans in that getting his 1,000 yards on the final play in that Buccaneers game? Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes, apparently 11 years in a row.
Tying Jerry Rice for an all-time record. And that was a 1-score game. I think it was an 8-point game, so a touchdown and a 2-pointer. They didn't want to throw an interception, but they had to get Mike across the finish line. And he was out 3 games with an injury this year, so he almost didn't get it. I'm such a Baker fan. He won me over on the Browns. I wanted us to draft in that draft anyone but Baker. I didn't want a short white quarterback in trouble with the law. I'm like, I don't want any more Johnny Manziel shit. No thanks. And he won me over. And so I'm rooting for him to win this whole damn thing. And him doing that for Mike Evans was so cool. like watching it live. I was cheering on the like just high-fiving. It was great to watch. Like, he makes football exciting for me.
I will remind you that Mike Evans had extra games to do it in every year too. So last 4 or 5 years. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Brian. I think Baker is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I concur. I concur. And guess who I wanted the Seahawks to go get in 2022 when he was a free agent? 2023. Baker Mayfield was top of my list. And of course, again, Mike's not the GM, so we have to live with what we have. All right. Vikings giving minus 1.5 to the Rams. I think this is the Monday night game. Jim, what's going on with the Vikings and the Rams?
Well, as far as I know, the game is still slated to be played in Los Angeles. I haven't heard anything about them moving the game. The Vikings, being in the NFC North, they're 28-15-1 against the spread versus non-division opponents. And big stat here. Teams that play the Lions the week before are 4-8 straight up. And they are 1-11 against the spread the week after.
Wow.
That is a strong stat, boys.
Do we know is that the most punishing team in the NFL? Is there a way to compare it against the other teams? I don't know what metric.
Yeah, that is a stat some people pay attention to and keep. Yeah, I think the Lions are number one. They used to call it the Seahawk effect, actually, because in 2012 they started noticing that teams that played the Seahawks lost the next week. Like, I think they had 19 consecutive opponents lost during the Legion of Boom era. So
yes,
they started tracking it then. So every year there's a team that's the most physical. Last year, I think it was 49ers.
It was Santa Clara last year.
Yeah. This year it's the Lions.
You could bet against the team that played Santa Clara the week before, and you would cash tickets.
Every week.
That's the way it is with the Lions this year. I mean, 1-11 against the spread the week after. I mean, that's a huge, huge number. Going over to the Rams are 5-12-1 straight up as a home dog, but they're 7-3 straight up in the playoffs.
Wow. So that's a tough call to make. I want to go for the Vikings. I want the Rams to lose, but the Rams basically had a bye week last week. They played their second and third string guys against the Seahawks and still almost won the game. So who's the momentum with? And you're going with the Rams. Yep.
The Rams.
I hear you.
I like the Rams in this game. I think I'm not, the way Darnold played last week, I mean, he was running for his life.
Yep.
And
the Rams can put pressure on you. Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, couple of great pass rushers there. They got some other guys that can hit it. I think Darnold could be under a similar type of pressure this week that he was last week.
Yep. In the late 70s and 80s, betting football, we had a saying, and it was home dog am tough. The Rams are getting 1.5 points. They're a home dog in this game.
Yep.
I don't know why they're a dog in this game. I think it's probably the way the Vikings have played this year. They're what, 15-2, 14-3.
Yeah, 14-3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lost out.
They've been great. They've been great all year, but I think they're beat up personally, and I think the Rams are going to flat win the game.
All right.
And you can't go against the fact that the Rams have already won a Super Bowl. They, with this coaching staff, they have the pedigree. That stuff matters when these games count.
Yeah.
But all that being said, maybe I'm going to be a little biased for my buddy Blake Wally, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Minnesota Vikings on this one. I think the Vikings are going to find a way to get it done, but you can't count the Rams out. Mike Bara, come on. I mean, you and the Rams, it's been a hate relationship for this whole season, but you've known the whole time. It's like, God, they're still hanging around. They're still hanging around. They're still.
Yeah, they won a bunch of games.
Like the Steelers, they find a way to get in the playoffs.
They won a bunch of games they should not have won this year, including, if it wasn't for Geno Smith, Seahawks would be the division champions, and they'd be in the playoffs getting beat by the Vikings. But as it stands, the Rams got in there. Sean McVay is an excellent coach. I will have to give him that.
Just as a betting tip, Brian, if you plan on putting money on, if you feel that strongly about the Vikings, I'd bet the Vikings on the money line, and you'd get a little bit better than 1-1 on your money.
Okay, good point.
If you really like the Vikings, just pick them to win.
Got it. All right, good point there. What else we got? I mean, I guess just to talk about the Lions at the number 1 seed, and
now it's time to make our picks and see what happens. All right, I'll go yours up. Yeah, I'll go to NFL Game Picker. I will go up and.
It's a shame that the regular season's done, by the way, because my last 2 weeks have been phenomenal.
Yeah. I had another winning week last week. I was 9-7. And again, who I think is going to win the game is not how I'm going to bet the game. But
Jim Mitchell, we got to get you doing the picks as well. We got to get you in on this.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take the Chargers. They got the momentum. I will be betting that game over the Houston Texans. I'm going to bet the Steelers, but I do think the Ravens are going to win the game, although I think it's going to be a lot closer. The Bills over the Broncos. Yes, I like that one. Would seriously consider betting the Broncos. I wouldn't touch this game, Packers-Eagles, but I like the Eagles at home. And you guys talked me into Tampa over the Redskins. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay at home over the Redskins. And Jim, I got to say, I think you got me talked into the 10-7 Rams over the 14-3 Vikings. I agree with you. I think the Vikings are beat up. So those are my picks for the wild card round. And I am 183-89 on the season. If you had followed my bets this year, well, that's not against the spread. That's money line. You wouldn't be
even betting the money line, betting one-teamers, Mike. You would have made money. Yep. But in most of those games, you would end up laying the juice.
Yep.
So you'd be getting 11-10 on your money.
All right, let me go to mine just for a quick recap. Week 17, I went 14-2. Yeah, that was a pretty good week.
Nice week.
Yes, week 8 last week wasn't bad. 12-4.
Yeah.
Not too. I've really climbed out of the gutter a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Get some momentum. I'm at 147 and 125 on the year. A little above coin flip odds there.
Now, most of the time you were sub 500 is because you picked the Browns every week.
That was my curse. Then I figured out I just need to do the opposite, and so I picked them to win every time. Anyway. But yeah. So let's go ahead and shift forward from week 18 to the playoffs in the wild card divisional round. Yes, as I said, I'm going with Los Angeles here. Look, as a Buckeye fan, I would be more than happy to see CJ Stroud put it together. But, once again, are they too banged up? It's that same thing that we were discussing about the Vikings. Are they too beat up? I don't know. Missing Tank Dell and offensive line issues. I think the Chargers are probably going to get this win even on the road. Yeah. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I mean, we're just picking straight up. I'm going to go. They are a better team, Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson, over the past 2, 3, 4 years, he has improved as a quarterback. I didn't think much of him when he came in the league. I really didn't. Number one, because I was biased and I hate anything Baltimore and the Ratbirds touch.
Right.
But he's really won me over. Like, he looks better. I think the Ravens are going to win this one. Definitely straight up. That's an easy pick for me. Denver, Buffalo. Look, Denver has done enough to make it into the playoffs. They were fighting off. Let's not forget the Cincinnati Bengals were coming on real strong. They needed the final week of the year to play out exactly as it did, or else maybe they'd be on the outside looking in. But seriously, kudos to the Broncos for turning it around, but I don't think there's a chance in hell they beat Buffalo, especially straight up. So I'm picking the Bills. Green Bay, Philadelphia. I could go either way on this one. Once again, I think pedigree matters, which means Green Bay, you can't count them out. They've, in the past 2-3 decades, they've won multiple championships. They have an organizational structure that just kind of gets it. But honestly, you can say the same thing about the Eagles in this case. They've been good this decade and more. And what, like I said, I think Saquon Barkley's year is this
Packers
year.
haven't won a championship in 14 years now.
The Cleveland Browns have not won a Super Bowl ever, have not won an NFL championship since 1964.
Wow.
64. Wow. We haven't won it. Hey, when's the last time, by the way, both of you, without looking, start with Jim. When's the last time the Cleveland Browns won our division title?
Was that prior to the move to Baltimore?
You could give 95,
me 98.
Just sticking my toe in the water, Brian.
Okay, so Mike say 95, 98, and you would guess?
Jim? I would guess prior to moving Art Modell packing his trash and moving to Baltimore.
Yeah, you got to go back to the 80s.
Technically, you could say you've won 2 Super Bowls, Brian, you know?
Well, oh God. Well, between Bill Belichick winning Super Bowls, who was our coach, and Ozzie Newsome in the Ravens, who was on our – oh, by the way, Nick Saban was one of our Browns coaches as well. But anyway, that being said, 1989 was the last time the Cleveland Browns won a divisional title. 1989, folks. That was the Houston
Bernie Kosar?
Yeah, Bernie Kosar. And if it weren't for Elway and those damn his bucktooth grin – the Browns.
It wasn't Elway. It was Ernest Biner.
Well, and it was the ref saying that kick was good when it clearly was wide to the left. But yeah, 100 reasons we didn't get it done. Washington at Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Baker and the boys. I love that team. I'm rooting for them so much. And Bucky Irving really coming on takes the sting off Rashad White kind of being a bit of a bust. So good on Bucky Irving. Good draft pick there. And like I said, the Vikings over the Rams. Those are my picks, and we shall see how that goes. Gentlemen, it's strictly football. I'm so excited. This is the best time of the year. College football playoffs, NFL playoffs. When do the NFL games start? I know we were just talking about, but did I miss
Saturday afternoon? I believe there's
Saturday,
an game and an evening game. So it's 1 and then 5.
So
Saturday.
The Penn State game is tonight against Notre Dame, and then tomorrow is the Buckeyes and Texas. Oh, what a great time of year, gentlemen. I'm glad we get to
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 important games, 7 or 8 important games over the next 4 or 5 days. So that'll be great.
So yeah, call DoorDash. Not a sponsor yet, but we could get them as a sponsor. Find a nice, comfortable place on the couch and get everything laid out and just settle in for a long winter's nap.
Unfortunately, DoorDash does not deliver Hooters wings, which would be my favorite thing.
Did you say
Hooters girl? Maybe a Hooters girl to deliver the Hooters.
Do you have a Twin Peaks over by you?
No, not that I know of. No.
We got one over by us, and it's like 100 different screens, maybe better food.
Hooters food is really good. Their wings are really good. They're the best wings.
I like the pot roast at Twin Peaks. It's really good. Jim, where do you like to watch games when you're not cooking pizzas in your backyard?
Right in front of my TV. Right, Mike?
Eating Regina's pizza, right? Right, Jim?
Right.
Eating
Regina makes great wings and little drumsticks too, Mike, on the smoker.
All right. His wife, Regina, is a great cook. Her pizza, Brian, it's there for you.
I know. I didn't make it out to Vegas for CES, but one of these days I'll make it out. And yes.
Well, isn't AVN this week? Isn't the AVN coming up too? Can't we?
Is it?
AVN, yeah, I think.
I did get nominated, but I don't know. That whole celebrity thing, it's not really for me.
Why does that surprise me that you know AVN's coming, Mike?
His Dave keeps telling me.
Pull up your lanyard. He's got his press pass. He's ready to go. He's VIP.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Strictly Football here on the Unhappy Hour, a division of the New American Media, and everything else that we do. Mike Bara, as he mentioned, all of his shows. Where's the best place to link up with you, Mike?
MikeBara.blogspot.com or on Telegram, Mike Bara Chat, or on Twitter X, seahawkboymikeb for football, and Mike Bara 333 at Mike Bara 333 on Twitter X also. So
excellent. So link up with Mike in all those places. Anything you want to promote, Jim?
No, I'm not promoting anything, Brian. I'm good.
Other than the pizzas and the wings, of course. Promoting the pizzas and the wings.
Pizza and the wings. And that's excellent. All free.
And like I said, get the podcast for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show and the Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify. Find the Unhappy Hour and the New American Media in all of the places. We'll be back next week talking football. I mean, we're going to have a clear picture of the college football championship. Everything will be sifted out for the Lions and the Chiefs to kind of start going to battle, see if they can conquer their divisions. And I'm here for
Everybody
it.
wants Lions Bills. Everybody wants Lions Bills. Let's face it. That's what we want.
Well, I'm okay with Minnesota because they've never won in my life. They've never won a Super Bowl, right?
No
Super Bowls.
No,
I'm
they
rooting for
lost 4 in a row.
0 for 4.
0 for 4.
Okay, so I'm rooting for Minnesota as well, and I'm also rooting for Baker and the Bucs. So those are probably the 4: Bills, Lions, Vikings, and Buccaneers. I would be okay if any of these teams win. That's kind of where I'm at. So we'll see where it shakes out next week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Love you. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.
Bye-bye.